Are you interested in helping your community stay safe during inclement weather? Stick around, I'm going to teach you about becoming a weather spotter. Hello, welcome back to part 2 of the Skywarn Spotter training that I'm going through, and I'm teaching you how you could become a weather spotter and help the National Weather Service better understand what's going on out there and keep your community safe. If you're interested and you haven't watched the first video, please go back and watch that. We're halfway through the training. This is it says Comet Program. The website is right here. I will provide the link below, and you will have to sign up for an account if you want to go through it with me. Otherwise, feel free to just watch, and you'll gain the knowledge you need. So we're halfway through. We're at reporting from the road. So this scenario highlights important decisions when making spotter reports from the road. Now, if you're under 16 years old, it doesn't make sense. You won't be driving. Obviously, you could be with your parents. You could report on Twitter then. Let's check it out.
On your way to your vehicle after a lunch hour appointment across town, you see a storm a few miles to the north. The sky is getting darker, but you think the storm won't threaten town based on its location. You check your watch. You have a sliver of time before you have to get back to work. A couple of those after-work errands should fit in right now, and they're on your way back to the office. A couple of stores and several heavy bags later, you stroll back to your SUV. The skies are still a delicate blue here in town, unlike yesterday when it rained all day, ruining your Sunday plans. The storm north of town, on the other hand, seems to have received reinforcements. The storm seems oddly stationary. Could it be an optical illusion? It should have moved by now. You check your watch. It looks like you spent a little too much time running those errands. Driving quickly down Main Street toward the river crossing at 6th, you pass a herd of swimsuit-clad, flip-flop teens that are shuffling up the street, soaked from head to toe, some of them shivering, none of them with towels. You smile as you think back to seeing them happily swinging into the river when you drove by before lunch. The parade of traffic slows ahead of you, but you don't see anything wrong. Why does traffic always slow down when you need it to go faster? You crane your neck to see the problem. The road looks wet. Did those kids splash all that water up onto the streets? You think to yourself, oh, come on, it's just some water. The car in front of you stops over the culvert, and the driver stares north, jockeying to see what is going on. You follow suit. The tree-lined banks of the river have water now right up to the tree trunks, much higher than only an hour ago. When you finally get a good view of the crossing, you see the stream crushing the culvert and building up behind it. The water has risen almost to the road. Gawking at the rush of water from the north, you finally put two and two together, remembering that stationary storm. The river must be right under that storm to the north, which hasn't moved. Water finally spills over the road. The car in front of you starts forward, crossing through the running water. A couple more cars approach the crossing from behind you, with drivers sporting the same look of exasperation.
Should not be driving through floodwaters. What should you do to get back to work? Drive quickly across the water before it gets too deep. Drive slowly into the water, testing if your SUV gets pushed around. Turn around to look for another crossing. Pull off the road to let other cars go by. I would say turn around and look for another crossing. You don't want to drive through floodwaters. That's dangerous. It could make your car float away and then in the river, and then you're in a lot of trouble.
The NWS advocates the slogan, turn around, don't drown. Don't ever try to cross running water, either in your vehicle or by foot. Most individuals are surprised to find out how powerful moving water can be, even if it is shallow. Just 6 inches of fast-moving water is enough to knock you off your feet, and 2 feet of water can float most vehicles, including SUVs like yours. If the water is moving fast, it can sweep your SUV off the overpass and into the river. To be safe, turn around and look for an alternate route. For a split second, you think about racing across the water. Instead, you slowly back out of traffic and turn around and move to the side of the road. Looking back on the river in your rearview mirror, you notice the other cars hesitating before crossing the rising water. You reach for your phone, thinking about how dangerous this situation could become.
Whom do you call? You call the National Weather Service to report flooding and hopefully save lives, 911 to warn them of the increasing threat to life and property, or do you work to tell them you will be late because of the flooded roads? I would say it's between these two. If you call 911, I would hope they would tell the National Weather Service as well. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one. Because this is a weather spotter, I'm thinking they want us to call National Weather Service, but I feel like I would want to call 911. Yep. All right, good. Even better. Good. Yeah, call 911. It's a dangerous situation. National Weather Service would want to know about that, but they're not going to send police out and get them to block off the bridge or anything.
Although calling the NWS is important for those downstream of this flash flood, it is more important to make sure that emergency officials secure this river crossing and likely check other crossings for rising waters. On average, over the last 30 years, flooding has caused the most severe weather-related deaths annually. Each year, between 40 and 60% of flood-related deaths occur in vehicles. This is why NWS promotes the slogan, "Turn around, don't drown." Dialing 911 is the best thing you could do right now. After calling 911, calling the NWS should be your next priority so they can help spread the warnings downstream. Calling work, although personally important, is the lowest priority.
After getting through to 911, what other options do you have to send your report to the National Weather Service if you don't have their telephone number? And remember, I think they want all of the above, but if you're not licensed, you cannot do amateur radio, but you could email and you could use Twitter. If you have a license, you could use amateur radio, so I'll say all of the above.
Although you've never used Twitter for making weather reports, you have been trained
It's a pretty old phone right there.
on how to do it. Using the Twitter app on your mobile phone, you tweet your report into the keypad. Only now do you think about calling work to let them know you are on your way. You cross the river downstream at a high bridge and get back to the main drag and then pass by the bridge where you turned around and see this scene. Emergency officials had obviously arrived on the scene since the road is blocked from at least one direction now.
All right, now we're on safety. As a spotter, it's your responsibility to stay safe while spotting. You are asked to abide by the following guidelines, both for your personal safety and for the safety of those around you. The spotter's personal safety is the primary objective of every spotter, so you want to be safe. Do not put yourself in harm's way to see the weather. The spotter should adhere to the concepts of ACEs, which they define below, at all times. The spotter should obey federal, state, and local laws and directives from public safety officials. So because you're a storm spotter, you can't speed. You can't tell the police, oh, well, I'm on official business. No, you're volunteering your time. Right? You can definitely tell the police that you're a spotter, but you can't break the law. And the spotter should never put his or herself in harm's way. This includes attempting to walk or drive over obstructions. So that'll be like flooded roadways and down power lines. That's very dangerous. And positioning themselves under objects that have potential to fall or be blown over due to severe weather. So you obviously should not be standing under a tree that could fall over during strong winds. Don't be standing under a tree if there's lightning. You should be inside. And so they said the spotter should adhere to the concept of ACEs, and this is ACEs. So be aware. Make sure you're communicating. Always know an escape route so you can get away. You don't want to get trapped by severe weather. And then know where safe zones are. So the ACEs concept, commonly used by emergency management personnel, stands for awareness, communication, escape routes, and safe zones. If you remember ACEs, you can remain safe in any situation, including spotting. Awareness means you should constantly observe the situation around you. This is sometimes referred to as situational awareness. Continuously monitoring the risks around you can save your life, especially in rapidly changing weather conditions. Knowing that there is a river crossing or knowing that the street is lined with power poles and trees can help you be prepared for the hazards of severe weather. When you are aware of the imminent threat and you are thinking ahead about possible outcomes, you can position yourself better to minimize these threats. Obviously, this is a very dangerous situation with down power lines. Communicating your whereabouts, so where you are, to others on a regular basis and having multiple lines of communication available can keep you and others safe from hazards. And then if you got trapped somewhere, people would know where to look for you. Escape routes are important when you need to get away from danger. An escape route is a clear path that will allow you to reach your safe zone well before harm arrives. Anytime you are acting as a spotter, you should continually note and monitor the escape routes available to you. Remember that your escape route must allow you to reach your safe zone in time to protect yourself. A proper escape route always leads to a safe zone. A safe zone or a shelter is an area in which you are safe during a hazardous condition. Your safe zone can be either a location to shelter in place or an area completely away from the hazardous event. Always clearly identify a safe zone in an area in which no harm will come to you. At times, it may become necessary to establish multiple safe zones with clear escape routes. In the event of severe weather, your safe zone could be the lowest portion of a sturdy building away from all windows. For mobile spotting, your safe zone could be an area away from the severe weather, so you could drive away from it. Always clearly identify and continually monitor your safe zone and escape routes to limit your risk, and be ready to use them to protect yourself from harm. Remembering ACEs to remain aware of your surroundings, have open lines of communication, know your escape routes, and know your safe zones wherever you go can increase your safety. And that's not just for weather. Anytime you go places, you should remain aware of what's around you, communicate with where you are and what you're doing with people, people you love and people that care about you. Know how to get out, and then know where a safe place to be would be. Moving forward to the summary, the Skywarn Spotter Program has been a benefit to both the National Weather Service and communities around the United States since its inception. You can help your community and other communities around you with your reports whenever any type of hazardous weather threatens. The National Weather Service can receive reports by phone, amateur radio, or the internet. When reporting to the National Weather Service, there are 7 required components: your name and or spotter number. In Illinois, at least the last time I went through it, I did not receive a number. So some states, maybe some counties, give you numbers, some don't. You need location of the spotter, so you, if different than hazardous weather location, approximate location of hazardous weather, type of hazardous weather, time hazardous weather started, duration of hazardous weather, contact information for the National Weather Service to follow up with you. Staying safe while spotting is not always easy, but if you remember the concept of ACEs, which is awareness, communication, escape routes, and safe zones, you will be safer. Throughout the previous scenarios, spotters used the concept of ACEs to help lower the risk of hazards they faced. They also made their personal safety the top priority. Spotters should obey all federal, state, and local laws, including directives from public safety officials. Lastly, spotters should never put themselves in harm's way. This includes walking or driving over obstructions like flooded roadways and downed power lines, or placing themselves under objects that could fall during severe weather. And something that I feel important to focus on again, a weather spotter is not a storm chaser. I'm not asking you to chase storms. Some people do that. That will add no benefit right now to your life or the National Weather Service. When you become more educated and better understanding of weather patterns and how things work, maybe that could be something in the future that you could do, but you would definitely need to know how to stay safe. And what we've gone over today does not give you that information. So storm spotters, that's great. If you want to be a storm chaser, I would urge you to get as much education as possible, because that is not a very safe thing to do unless you really, really know what you're doing. I want to give a big thanks to Comet MetEd. It says, what is MetEd? MetEd website provides education and training resources to benefit the operational forecaster community, university atmospheric scientists and students, and anyone interested in learning more about meteorology, weather forecasting, and related geoscience topics. They have a bunch of education and training. You go in here. I do believe all of it's free. It says, let's see, our training consists of lessons and courses. A lesson is targeted toward one focused subject, whereas a course is a collection of lessons that pertain to a broader subject area. They have a bunch of different topics. Maybe you're really interested in a specific thing. Check it out, and they'll have trainings just like this on it. Some of them are higher level. Some of them are lower level. They do have a skill level here, and you would have to look into those skill levels. But very, very interesting stuff on there. I wanted to thank them for the use of this, and I hope you learned a lot. So if you're interested in becoming an official weather spotter, you do need to be 16 years old. Sorry about that. There's no way about getting around it. And you need to create that account online. You take the quiz, and then you'll get a certificate of achievement. You could send that to your National Weather Service office if it's required. And stay safe out there. And thanks for checking it out. Have a great day.